Let's get started. This meeting is being held in accordance with the laws of the state of New Jersey pursuant to Section 5, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws, 1975. This is to state for the record that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public by posting and maintaining the annual notice of regular meetings on the bulletin board of the municipal building, by mailing the annual notice of regular meetings for 2023 to the News Record and Star Ledger in December 2022, and by filing said notice in the office of the Township Clerk.
Ms. Adams?
Here.
Ms. Croy?
Here.
Mr. DeLuca?
Here.
Ms. Engel?
Here.
Mayor Davis.
Here.
Whereas Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, commonly known as the Open Public Meetings Act, requires that all meetings of public bodies be open to the public. And whereas Section 7A provides that the governing body has the discretion to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation of the public at any meeting. And whereas desire of the governing body to comply with the provisions of this act, same time to conduct its business in an orderly and expeditious manner. Now therefore be resolved by the Township Committee, Township of Maplewood does hereby prohibit, except as set forth in the formal agenda, active participation in the deliberations of the governing body by the public, except as otherwise prescribed by law, does limit the public to the observations of the actions and discussions of the governing body at all of its regular and special meetings.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Croy?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Okay, let's get started with our agenda. Please join in a salute to our flag. We always start our agenda with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Every time I say those last words, they get to me, with liberty and justice for all. And that's what we're about here in Maplewood. So welcome everyone to the last meeting of February and the last virtual meeting. Possibly not forever. We never know what's going to happen, but we are returning in person, starting with the first meeting in March on March 7th at 7:30. You will hear from administration in a little bit during the reports from administration about how you can participate going forward if you're not able to be with us in person. But we are back in person and we're all looking forward to interacting with you in person. Okay, we should have a quick agenda tonight, dare I say. We will start with the first public comment period of 2 for agenda items only. Mr. Waltz will coordinate public comment. And then we will go into our ordinances. We have 3 ordinances on final passage, being that they are on for final consideration. By law, a public hearing is required. This means that members of the public have the opportunity to comment on any of these ordinances. And there's also an opportunity for discussion by members of the Township Committee before they are passed or finally voted on, rather. We have the introduction of 1 ordinance, report from departments. Our Chief Financial Officer, as required, has published for the public his January 2023 budget report. Administrative reports. We will follow the order as stated in the agenda, starting with interim Township Administrator Schuster, followed by Assistant Administrator Barnett. I did not forget this time. Then Township Attorney Desiderio, and last but not least, Township Clerk Fritzen. Reports from elected officials. Tonight, the order is Committee Member Jermaine Kripe, Deputy Mayor Engel, Committee Member DeLuca, Committee Member Adams, and I always go last. We have several discussion items tonight, and then that will take us to the adoption of our consent agenda, followed by the second public comment period for any subject matter. Then we will adjourn out of our Township Committee meeting and move into our local ABC to consider a person-to-person, place-to-place transfer. All right, so with that, let's get started. I do want to say a few things to acknowledge what's happening in the world before we go into public comment. We extend our thoughts and prayers first to President Carter, Jimmy Carter, and his family. We offer him and the family our love, our support, peace and comfort in hospice. And we're thinking of him and honored that he was our president. He's created a generation of leaders, including the leaders on this call tonight, following in his example. I also would like to honor the victims of the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria with a moment of silence. Please join me. Thank you very much. We honor all life everywhere. So with that, Mr. Waltz, I'm going to turn it over to you for public comment.
Good evening, Mayor and Township Committee. We will now begin the first public comment portion of our meeting on agenda items only. If any meeting attendee would like to address the Township Committee, please use the raise your hand function. We'll convert you over to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak. Mayor, first we have Stephen Jaffe. We'll convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
You cannot see me, however.
No,
start.
no.
Okay, hold on. There we go. Okay. Hi, I'm Steve Jaffe, 30 Bowden Street. I'll keep this very brief. And thank you for the opportunity. I recently submitted a petition to you in support of the efforts of Laborers Local 3 at the Baker Street Library construction site. And I just wanted to endorse your proposal for project labor agreements going forward. Hopefully this will make a real difference for working people working on future projects here in Maplewood. I will say, I think it's safe to say that I and others will be watching with great interest to see what kind of teeth these agreements will have in reality. But I thank you and applaud you for your work on this, and I'm hoping that the vote will be a positive one when it comes. And I'll leave you with the thought that I assume that you are you are not going to miss seeing Scabby the inflated rat out there, at least for the near future. But thank you, and as I say, with great curiosity going forward, we will be many of us will be watching. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Jaffe.
Mayor, I see no one else.
Seeing none, we will close this public comment period. Thank you, and move on to ordinances on final passage. Township Clerk Fritzen.
Yes, Mayor, we're at item number 6. Ordinances on final passage, our first one being ordinance number 3084-23 is an ordinance to amend chapter 271 of the Code of the Township of Maplewood entitled Zoning and Development Regulations. This ordinance will, with regard to zoning districts R17, R15, R14, and R24, amend the facade length adjacent to side lot lines from 30 feet to 40 feet in each zone.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board of municipal buildings and of the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. At this point, I open up to the public for comment. Mr. Waltz.
I see no one, Mayor.
Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. And any discussion by the Township Committee?
Mayor, I just would report that we did get a memo from the planning board indicating that they found it consistent with the master plan and are supportive of the ordinance.
Thank you.
After much discussion. So
God help us.
it was firmly vetted. Let's just say that.
Yeah, twice.
Yes.
at least.
Yes.
Okay, can we get a motion?
I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
I
Second.
second the motion.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Bright,
Yes.
Mrs. Luca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes.
Next, also on final passage, Mayor, we have ordinance number 3085-23. Bond ordinance providing for phases 2B, 3B, 4, 5, 6 of the local units allocable share of the flood mitigation facilities project of the joint meeting of Essex and Union counties, buy-in in the Township of Maplewood, in the County of Essex, State of New Jersey, the local unit, appropriating $3,835,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $3,835,000 in bonds or notes to finance the cost thereof. The interpretive statement for this one is Joint Meeting Flood Mitigation Facilities Project.
This ordinance has been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies made available to the general public in accordance with the law. At this point, we'll open it up to the public for public comment. Mr. Waltz, any members of the public wishing to comment on this ordinance?
I see no one, Mayor.
I see no one also. We'll close the public hearing. Any discussion by the Township Committee? Seeing none, I'll move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
I second it.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes.
And our third ordinance, Mayor, also on final passage, ordinance 3086-23. It's an ordinance to establish regulations for outdoor streeteries on the streets of Maplewood. This ordinance will establish that the terms and conditions under which streeteries will be allowed on the streets of Maplewood.
This ordinance has also been published, copies posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and copies also made available to the general public in accordance with the law. At this point, we'll open it up to the public for public comment. Any members of the public, Mr. Waltz?
I see no one, Mayor.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Any discussion by the Township Committee? I do have one question. This is probably for admin, if not maybe the comms team as well. What are we doing to inform our businesses that this is now coming, our ordinance? If we get a vote here in favor of passage, March 1st is the first day that we can accept applications from businesses, and that's around the corner. So what are we doing to let businesses know about that?
Go ahead, Ms. Ritson. I was just going to say, I know that in the discussions, the formulation of these regulations with Village Alliance in particular, I know that Kat Dillette, the director of Village Alliance, has spoken with all the relevant businesses about it, so they know it's been coming. They've had input, they've had complaints, they've had agreement, so there's been a lot of communication, but I think it makes sense for a letter, an email, maybe an email to Kat to distribute to the businesses downtown in particular, because that's mostly where this is impacted, since there were none on Springfield Avenue or in any other business district where there's ample sidewalks. So that's what I would suggest happens after this if this passes.
And just to add to that, Kat has already reached out to me, should this pass, about setting up a time to chat about reaching out to our businesses and communicating to them. So we're already talking about it.
Terrific. And
Mayor, we will already prepared the application. So
Right.
that's ready to go.
right.
Maybe
The deadline- Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, Ms. Fritzen, if maybe that could be distributed to the food establishments in the village.
I
Yes.
would, yeah, and I think we should circulate it over to our other special improvement district, even though we know that there wasn't a lot of opportunity for outdoor dining over there, but it should be for equity distributed uniformly. So we should get it to those businesses as well and to that special improvement district manager. Okay, can I get a motion?
Yep. I move this ordinance be adopted as a whole and the clerk be directed to publish the same as a passed ordinance in the Maplewood South Orange News Record according to law.
I second it.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Wright,
yes,
DeLuca,
yes,
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen, and there you go. Outdoor dining has not been replaced or gone away. It is back April 15th through November 15th every year. It's seasonal, smaller footprint. Take a look at the ordinance. All right, introduction of an ordinance, Ms. Fritzen.
Yes, Mayor. Item 7, we have one ordinance and introduction, 3087-23. It's an ordinance to direct the installation of stop signs at the intersection of Donnell Road and Oakland Road. This ordinance will direct the installation of multi-way stop signs at the intersection of Donnell Road and Oakland Road.
Can I get a motion?
well, I'll move it. I move the passage of this ordinance on first reading, its publication according to law in the Maplewood South Orange News Record, and a hearing to be held on March 7th, 2023.
second,
Oops, sorry.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Wright,
yes,
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes,
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you again. We're moving on to reports from departments. We have one report as published, the January budget report from our CFO. And this will take us into administrative reports. Interim Administrator Schuster.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few things for you this evening. As always, reporting on the budget, continue to refine it, working with department heads. Of course, this Thursday, we do have the budget hearing on capital and open space. So we look forward to hearing your feedback as well as any feedback from the public as we move forward through the process. If you recall previously, I did mention that we were looking to get a health insurance broker to look at all of our options as we look at potentially leaving the state plan. We have received 7 proposals. The closing date for our solicitation was on Friday. We'll be reviewing those internally and then making a recommendation. Next, if you recall, we had quite a number of corrective actions that were submitted as part of the 2021 audit. Approximately 28 were listed in the report that was sent to everyone. I just want to report that we are down to 14 on that list. So department heads have made considerable progress whittling down that list. And I anticipate over the next month or two, we will again be having a smaller amount. And then finally, want to mention not something I typically talk about, but bingo. We have seen some interest from a number of organizations in holding bingo at the Woodland. We are currently not licensed through the state for that. So unless there's any kind of objection, I would like to go ahead and apply for the appropriate license to hold bingo there for 1 year and see how it goes. If there is considerable interest, of course, it'll be worth the $1,000 license fee. If not, then the next year, we can go ahead and let the license lapse and stop performing that function with due notice to any interested party. So if the committee is okay with it, I would suggest a motion to authorize the application for the appropriate annual license for bingo to occur at the Woodland.
I'll move it or second it if that was a motion.
No, it was just a question.
Okay, I'll move it.
I'll second it.
So
Okay.
can I ask a question first? Thanks. So I have a couple questions. I'm not sure how much bingo desire there is, and, or if there's any flexibility on the fee, which I doubt. It just seems kind of a steep fee for bingo, and it's just for individual organizations to be able to have bingo in our municipal buildings, or is it building specific? I assume not. I hope not. And is it? It is.
It is building specific, yes.
Has there been a lot of requests? I've only heard of one.
There's been two.
Okay, so not a lot. And so I don't know. I guess I'm willing to try it. It seems like a lot of money for the occasional organization that's not the township to have bingo at the Woodland.
Well, I think the idea is that it may inspire other organizations to do the same, knowing that we are now, we would be licensed by the state to allow for this. St. Joe's is having one there. As you saw the email request earlier today, Seth Boyden is having a fundraiser doing the same thing. And we just want to make sure that we're in accordance with the law. So,
Oh, of course. No, I wouldn't want anybody to have it if we were breaking the law. I'm just wondering whether or not it's worth the money. I know in the grand scheme of municipal budget, it's not a lot, but I'd almost rather give Seth Boyden $1,000 than pay $1,000 for a permit that's going to be used. But that's just me.
Deputy
Yeah,
Mayor Engel?
I love the idea of bingo, actually. I did see some social media posts about bingo in our community, and growing up, I remember going to bingo with my grandparents, with my parents, and I think it's like a multi-generational activity. And I do think it would be interesting to see if we can get more bingo at the Woodland besides just, you know, the couple of people that have applied for fundraisers. But I like the idea, so I'm a support of it.
Thank you. Committee Member Kripe, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I just have a concern about the timing. I know that the Woodland is utilized by a lot of organizations and a lot of community members for events such as bat mitzvahs and weddings and various things. And I worry, just because I grew up in Florida, that bingo tends to take over weekends and certain days. And I wonder if that is going to actually hurt more than help the usage of the building by having a repeated rotation of bingo happening. And maybe this is something that will build up eventually. We're not there yet, so my fears are not founded. But I do know that it's not a one-off for most houses of worship to run bingo. It's a steady fundraiser. So it would be a weekly, possibly even multiple times a month type thing. And that would make that space, that time unavailable for other people, which seems a bit unfair for public use. So that's just my concern.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's up to our facilities manager, our community services director, our arts and cultural affairs manager. All of those persons are in charge of scheduling events and making sure there's equity in scheduling and opportunity of access to our municipal buildings. So that would be up to them. This would merely authorize this type of activity for the next year and see how it goes. Okay, so we're all good. We have some concerns and we'll see how things play out. Yes?
I think we need a motion, Mayor.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah, I moved it and Mr. DeLuca second.
Okay, we'll take a roll call, Mayor. Ms. Adams?
No.
Ms. Kripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes. Thank you.
It's 4-1.
Interim Administrator Schuster, were you done with your report? Did you have all the items?
I am. That is all, Mayor, unless there's any questions for me.
Any questions for Mr. Schuster? Okay, we'll move on to Assistant Administrator Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor. So as Interim Administrator Schuster said, we've been working on the capital budget. We have that hearing coming up this Thursday. So other than that, I'll keep it short and sweet with just a couple of updates. So one is that the salary study solicitations for proposals, as discussed at the last meeting, went out, and they're going to be set with the deadline of Friday, March 10th. So we'll have some updates on quotes for that process in the near future. And then, as the mayor mentioned earlier, our meeting is going to be returning to in-person on Tuesday, March 3rd. So anybody who would like to submit a public comment or ask a question and is not going to be able to attend in person, we're asking that folks email those questions and comments to Deputy Township Clerk Amari Allah. I will drop his email in the chat and as well as his phone number, and we'll also be publishing this on the website. And then just a reminder for folks who might be streaming on YouTube or joining us on Zoom, we're still going to have the stream available so people can watch on YouTube as they are currently. And they also can join and watch within the Zoom, since Zoom is how we stream to YouTube, but we won't be able to see them. There won't be the raise your hand function, but if you want to tune in just to watch, that's something that you'll still have access to in those digital ways. And then of course, folks are welcome to attend in person. Unless there are any questions, that's all I have.
Just a clarification, it's Tuesday, March 7th.
Oh, yes, March 7th. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Assistant Administrator Barnett? Assistant Administrator Barnett, there is one thing I was going to bring up in my report for support, but since it's really an admin function, so why don't we do it here if you don't mind? We also have Interim Administrator Schuster for further details as necessary. So Soma Cross Cultural Works has reached out to us about co-sponsoring an event. Nothing unusual there. We co-sponsor many events with Soma Cross Cultural Works. This event is the first of its kind. It's a Caribbean heritage event. It is being organized at this first of its kind as a happy hour event at the parlor in the Woodland for adults only. The only difference about this event is that alcohol will be served. And so while we have co-sponsored some cross-cultural events and co-sponsored many events at our facilities in partnership with community organizations, we have never officially done one where alcohol is going to be served. We did reach out to our JIF, our insurance carrier. They told us that since this is only an adults only event, they would cover us for any issues that may happen. So the question is, do we support this event so that it can move forward? It's been lagging. Administration thinks they need some guidance from the governing body about this. Assistant Administrator Barnett, did I leave anything out?
No, Mayor, I think that's everything. The main concern that our insurance carrier had was that we have on the record that there's governing body support for the event, just so that in the incident that something did occur, our insurance knows that the governing body is in agreement and there's a clear position taken by the township that they can cover under our policy.
Interim Administrator Schuster, anything else to add here?
No, I don't have anything to add. When this originally came up, I asked that we go check with the insurance carrier and they cover us. So as far as I'm concerned, if the governing body is okay with it, then we are fine with it.
Wonderful. Any discussion among my colleagues? Yeah, I'm okay with it. Any objections?
No, we have a precedent. We allow the library, we allowed them at one point, I think it was the foundation, to have a fundraiser. We served wine and beer. This is a little different because I assume they're going to have more than wine and beer. We've also, as the township, have sponsored art openings at 1978 where wine is offered, sometimes beer. So there's a bit of a precedent here, and I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think in some of those instances, those groups also had their own insurance. They'd be covered under ours in this instance, but I think there's no controversy here. And I'm really excited to see that there's another greater cultural awareness and inclusivity by having a Caribbean event. So there you go. Administration, you have received the green light. to
Can we
move.
do a motion, Mayor, please?
I move that we approve this event as a co-sponsor with the Township of Maplewood.
And allow liquor to be served contingent upon our insurance company providing the insurance coverage. Would that be a fair addition?
Yes, sir.
Second,
Ms. Adams,
yes.
Ms. Wright,
Yes,
Mr. DeLuca,
yes,
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Danvers.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Desiderio, you're up next. Any updates?
I have nothing else to report, Mayor.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Desiderio? All right, we'll move over to Ms. Fritzen.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. Yes, the office is prepared for the streeteries and the applications. And I'll make all the contacts that we had discussed earlier. And we have event planning meetings again this week for more larger scale events in the township. And there's 2 meetings tomorrow afternoon. And yeah, the room's ready for our first meeting on March 7th. And looking forward to that. And it'll also be Women's History Month kickoff. So it'd be nice to have that in person. And that's all that I have.
Terrific. Thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Any questions for our clerk?
Do we have the new chairs on the dais?
Well, if you came to visit us, you would see them.
I saw them in the thing. I wasn't sure they were ours. I was just making sure whether or not I need
They
one.
are our new chairs. And I've tried everyone out to make sure that they're working fine. And, nothing squeaky.
Okay.
Oh, wonderful. Let's move on to reports from elected officials, and we'll begin this evening with Committee Member Cripe.
thank you, Mayor Daffis. It'll be short and sweet. We had our public safety committee meeting, and there were a lot of comments and statements made by not only members of our seniors advisory committee, but they also invited our police department to come and visit the senior advisory committee to have conversations around Springfield Avenue safety crossings. And there is a lot of detail that's going to come out of that. There's a lot of information that's been shared about lighting. A lot of steps have been taken, not only by our engineering department, but by PSC&G. So hopefully our community will start to see those changes coming up as the evenings get darker, our lights will get better. Finally, this week is Crossing Guard Appreciation Week. If you haven't seen the emails, if you haven't taken an opportunity to spend some time saying thank you to the men and women who serve as the crossing guards in and around our schools, they put themselves at risk, literally, in some cases, to protect our children and our families walking to and from our schools. So take a moment to say thank you, draw them a card, buy them a gift certificate from the Dunkin' Donuts, whatever you feel moved to do, to let them know how much we are happy that they are here with us and are grateful for the service they provide. Other than that, we are looking to collect more data in regards to our safety of crossing our walking, particularly with the pedestrian study going forward with our Summer Two Towns team. So hopefully in the next few months, we will have some better understanding in time for the mayor's campaign for wellness. We'll have some better, safer routes that we can actually go out and walk with our senior population as well as other members in this community. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And we're looking forward to getting this whole thing started once the weather's warm up. And that's it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Member Cripe. That's fantastic. Do we have any questions, any of us, for Committee Member Cripe? All right, we'll move over to Deputy Mayor Engel.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a report this meeting from the Maplewood Village Alliance. You might see that the area with the benches by Baker Street is going to be cleaned up this week. The beautification committee has a project going on over there to make it a little bit more spiffy and create a nice little place for those of us who like to eat our ice cream on those benches. It'll be a nice little more beautiful place than the overgrown shrubs that we have now. And Kat Gillette, he mentioned earlier, was voted to be given the executive director title, upping her from district manager, as we've created, the MBA has voted to create that into a full-time position. She's already been working full-time, but now she will have a full-time position with a title. From recreation, I just wanted to plug the basketball playoffs we have coming up this week. We have home games at the middle school. The 8th grade girls are playing Glen Ridge on Wednesday at 7:30, and the 6th grade boys are playing West Orange on Thursday at 7:15. And it's really exciting to have them playing on home turf. So we hope that people come out and see them. As well as we have an ice skating event coming to DeHart. It'll be man-made ice on the basketball courts on February 24th. The event is from 4 to 8. There's still some skating slots open at 6:15 and at 7, and it's $5 to skate. And it sounds like a really fun event. And that is my report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any questions for the Deputy Mayor? I'll have to come out and get one of those slots and show you my triple axles. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. All right, Committee Member DeLuca.
I would expect a quad and nothing less.
There you go.
I mean,
Triple toe.
I'll bring the ice.
You still are 52, remember? You should be able to do a quad.
There you go.
Jermaine, you meant the ice for his back?
Yeah, I'm planning on bringing the ice.
Well, thank you. And just kudos to the Alliance. I saw the lights, the string of lights along the street. It looks great. So, okay. I wanted to start off by, of course, sharing a screen, talking about the Springfield Avenue, Burnett Avenue, and Tuscan Road intersection. As you know, let me make this, I'll see if I can make it a little larger. Maybe not. I can't, but, oh, here we go. Now I got it. Okay. So we've been working at this intersection. We had a pilot project where we ran cones down the center here, or I'm sorry, on the on this line here. And what we learned is we learned a lot of things, that by prohibiting the left turns, we were able to protect the integrity of this crosswalk by not having the cars turning off of Tuscan, by not getting cars backed up here. It just makes this crosswalk a lot safer. It also makes Tuscan Road traffic safer because they don't have to inch out into this roadway. What we also learned is that where the way we have the road configured now, this turning radius off of Springfield Avenue and even off of the westbound side of Springfield Avenue is too tight. And we've had trucks that have jumped the curb, took out a sign, took out a tree. So what we are now going to be doing is we're going to be eliminating the 2 lanes on that are stacked at the light here. And we are creating, you'll see in the middle here, this line here, that a little highlight here with the cross hatches. We're going to split this road in half, and we're going to make it 20 feet on each side, which will allow cars to comfortably, trucks to make the right here and also come off of Springfield Avenue and come in this way. So we think this will be much better. It'll continue to make this intersection safe. We won't have trucks jumping on this curb here. And so instead of having a left turn lane and a right turn lane, there'll just be 1 lane here and cars will stack up. And the other thing that we're doing is you have this crosswalk across Springfield Avenue here. We're moving back the stop bars from the crosswalk. As you can see, the stop bar is right here, and it's pretty close to the crosswalk. So we're moving these back some 25 feet, and this one we're moving 50 feet back. So it will help with the turn radius off of Springfield onto Tuscan, and it will actually increase the integrity of this crosswalk also, because we'll have cars stacked back here. This will allow cars to get out of Burnett and have a little leeway before these cars come flying up here. So we think this is a better design. The Engineering Public Works Committee has approved it, And we're moving forward now in getting pricing for it and doing the planning so that we have everything we need to make this happen. So we think this intersection is going to be a lot better. And the only other thing I wanted to say is this is part of a Seth Boyden safety campaign. We already dealt with the intersection of Boyden and Tuscan Road, where we changed that crosswalk. We are going to be widening the lanes down in front of Quick Check, so that we'll be providing a longer stacking lane for left turns there. And we think that will move the traffic off of Boyden quicker because cars will be able to get out there and make that turn. So just wanted to share. I know it's been a concern of the public for some time, and just wanted to share that, let people know we're doing that. Next up, I want to talk about what we're doing Saturday. Now, this is too large. Let me get down here. We're doing the 1-year commemoration of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. It's going to be at the Jerry Ryan Plaza Town Hall, 5 o'clock Saturday, 5 to 6. So you can go ice skating after or before, but make sure you come out 5 to 6. We're going to have remarks from the mayor, the village president, Father Hott from the Ukrainian church here in town. We have other faith-based people who are going to, representatives who are going to be speaking. We'll have some music, lighting of candles. And again, this is just to remember that 1 year ago, we came together as a community to support our brothers and sisters in the community, our Ukrainian church, and also the people of Ukraine. So that will be, I think it'll be at least a service. I know that the church, I met with the church folks, and they're very appreciative of everything that we've been doing in town. And I wanted to share one last thing, and that is the workshop we're doing with Essex County. And this is, again, Essex County Home Improvement Program. The county provides money to homeowners in Maplewood and across the county, all these towns, to fix up their homes. So we're having 2 sessions in Maplewood at the Senior Center, one Tuesday, the 14th of March from 6 to 8 p.m. And then the same session on Saturday, the 18th from 10 a.m. to noon. And this way we'll have 2 sessions. If you can't come out at night, you can come out on Saturday. You'll find out all the details of what kind of work is eligible to get done in your house, the income guidelines. And this is really a very good program. We've had people in town that have taken advantage of this, and they've gotten some repairs done in their homes. So that's important that folks are aware of that, and please share that with your neighbors. And lastly, I just want to say we have about a week left of Black History Month. We've had a really robust program this month. Ms. Kripe and I have been coordinating it, working with our folks at the Department of Community Services. We want to thank them for everything they're doing. And but there's still plenty more to do. So please go on Maplewood Black History Month website and check it out for the rest of the months. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeLuca. Great report and really nice work on the intersection of Tuscan and Boyden. That's been a lot of work there. Tried a lot of different things, and ultimately restricted movement is what was found to be successful. And that might be a theme tonight about another intersection. I suspect we might hear from the public very shortly. We will move over to committee member items.
Thank you. Since this will be the last time I can share my screen, I can. Committee member DeLuca beat me out on that one. So I just wanted, coming up, what we're doing a little something new this Women's History Month. We're going to do a flag raising with the mayor's permission. We're going to start closed session a little bit early so that we can gather out by the light pole or in the front of town hall and take a picture and do a flag raising for Women's History Month to recognize women's history and women's impact on our world over our history, since it, just like Black history, it is under taught in our schools for sure. So we want people to recognize it. And so we'll be doing a flag raising, and then the mayor will be lighting the building. He has the codes to make it all the different colors for the different months and honoring women in our history. And also we'll do the proclamation with women at the at town hall during the meeting at 7:30. And then we'll also be including and honoring the Girl Scouts for their work on the video on the recycling, and also just so we expect a very full photo. So we encourage everyone to wear at least some white, because wearing white for women is a historic tradition. So if you can wear something white or a white scarf or whatever, whatever you've got, it's amazing how little things we have that are white to say. So anyway, that's I just wanted to, all the events that are being loaded up on the somawomen.org website are getting loaded up. So we want to make sure that everybody knows it's somawomen.org. So that's my last share on screen at a meeting. So that's all I have.
Thank you for that. Excited about all the events during Women's History Month, and thank you to Committee Member DeLuca and Committee Member Kripe for being amazing liaisons in the organization of our Black History Month. I will highlight a couple of upcoming events next week that we shouldn't miss in my report, which is next. How about that for a nice introduction? Okay, so you heard it mentioned earlier before by administration that we have our third budget workshop coming up on Thursday this week, where we will go through all of the capital budget requests. That's really where the meat and potatoes is, right? That's where we're going to have to make some tough choices about necessary infrastructure improvements and other requests throughout town. As we mentioned before, we're really trying to keep a tax increase very low this year. We understand that our working families are under a lot of stress. Affordability is an issue in North Jersey, not just in Maplewood. And we're also looking at a reassessment of all properties in Maplewood starting this spring, summer. So we're really mindful of what's going on in the background and the context in which we are making these budget decisions. But budgets are our values too. So we want the budget to reflect our services. We want it to reflect all the needs of our community. So if you want to join us and see how the sausage is made, join us on Thursday. We'll be virtual. The link is available on our website. We start at 6 p.m. And as you've heard mentioned by administration, it's pretty clear now, based on my conversations with other mayors and with the governor's office and with the legislature leadership, there isn't going to be any relief coming from the state as it relates to the healthcare premium hike. So hopefully we will find something else that makes sense for us. That 23% is very hard for us to swallow on our local budget. And that's why we are seeking plans from brokers, as administration noted. Mr. DeLuca covered the event on Saturday that starts at 5 p.m. Please join us if you can. This is an opportunity for all of us to reassert our solidarity with the people of Ukraine everywhere. We have a sizable Ukrainian population in Maplewood, so come and join us. Black History Month events that I want to highlight, as Committee Member DeLuca mentioned, there are several more to come. Check out our website, but there's a couple that are, I think, not to be missed. The Black Caucus of the New Jersey Democratic Party will be hosting a voting rights discussion at the Woodland on next Tuesday night, starting at 6 p.m. Food and beverages are included in that. It's a free event. You must register prior, please. You can find all those details on our website. And because there's so many amazing things happening in our town all of the time, there are bound to be conflicts at around 7 o'clock, around the same time that evening, over at the Hilton branch of our library. There's a very interesting discussion that will be held about transformative and restorative justice, creating spaces for healing, hosted by Professor Dr. Juan Rios, who's the director of the social work department at Seton Hall University. That's being hosted by our library. So that's a great opportunity as well. I want to provide a quick update about Wawa. We know that our residents have noted some serious concerns, quality of life concerns, public safety concerns about Wawa, especially late at night from 11 p.m. till the early morning hours. It is a 24-hour location at the moment. We have made a lot of headway with administration and personnel and management there, and they are taking us very seriously, and they're looking at all options. Currently, they are looking at an updated security plan, which may include hiring Maplewood PD during those off hours, off duty, of course. And they're looking at those rates, and they're having those discussions internally as to whether or not that will happen. In the meantime, they beefed up some of their internal security inside the store during the after hours, and they have also limited movement and entry into the property from 44th Street and from Chancellor Street in the back. And they've amended what we had done previously back there to not cut off too much of the parking, create other nuisances. And it seems to be working. It seems that some of the, quality of life complaints about noise and loitering and lingering in the back up against the fences of residences right there have decreased somewhat. But we remain vigilant, and we've established a good working relationship with them, and they are really taking our concerns seriously. And as someone noted here, I forget who it was, at our next meeting on March 7th, we will be unveiling the mayor's wellness campaign. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff that we're going to do throughout the year. It isn't just going to focus on physical fitness. It will focus on mental health. It will focus on spirituality. It will focus on overall community health and wellness. And stay tuned for that, and come and join us throughout the year at all the various events. That is my report this evening. We're going to move over to our discussion items. Ms. Adams has the first one.
Sorry, trying to find which tab my agenda's on. Where is it? Where is it? Tell me what the item is and I'll talk.
In support of liquor licensing reform.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry. I didn't want to speak about something that wasn't what it was supposed to be. My apologies. So, yeah, basically, downtown New Jersey is working again, and has been for many, many years, on liquor license reform, along with the International Council of Shopping Centers, ICSC New Jersey. So for well over 20 years, this has been an issue. Really what it's about mostly is the availability of liquor licenses in the state of New Jersey is severely limited based on antiquated rules, basically, and gives preference to people who can afford $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. They've gone for over $1 million for liquor licenses in some municipalities. They're limited by population. They're limited by that kind of availability. So there's been a big push for a long time. And with the governor finally speaking from the top of the governmental chain in the state, looking for license reform, downtown New Jersey has also been talking about it. And so I bring, as a board member of DNJ, to this township committee, your support, I hope, for resolution from this governing body to reform liquor license laws in the state of New Jersey for equity reasons and for fairness, especially to small businesses. And obviously with thoughtful and complicated, somewhat compensation or fairness to some extent to those who spent a lot of money on having a liquor license. But the liquor lobby has been very strong, as has the New Jersey Restaurant Association, for years and years fighting this. But as a progressive community that believes in equity, it's very hard to run a successful food establishment or a profitable one with that disadvantage of not being able to serve probably the biggest markup and most profitable part of a restaurant business, and that is to be able to serve liquor. So I ask for your support on this resolution that Mr. Desiderio distributed earlier.
Yes, and it's on our agenda, resolution number 66-23, published item 12D in our consent agenda. We can vote on it now. I will move it.
Second.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Long overdue. Let's hope that everyone in Trenton is serious about this issue once and for all this time around. Okay, the next couple of items are Mr. DeLuca's.
Thank you, Mayor. So the next one is the project labor agreement. We heard Mr. Jaffe speaking about it earlier. So one of the things when the union came and started doing their information picket in front of town, in front of the library, you know, I began a conversation with them, and we realized that we needed to learn more about these large construction projects. We don't do that many. I mean, we haven't done anything large in in dozens of years. Last one was the police station. So we know that coming up, there'll be more because infrastructure is going to require some more rebuilding. So we wanted to be prepared for the next round of large projects. And so we started discussion with the laborers about project labor agreements and did some research. We looked at a couple of different ordinances, and I'm going to share a slide I did just to kind of explain where we're at now and what our draft ordinance includes. So the project labor agreement is it's an instrument that the state approves, and it deals with public construction projects of 5 million and above. And you exclude the land acquisition, so that doesn't get included in that 5 million. And then it also has to include private construction projects. Now, the private construction projects is a little different. That's 10 million and above, and it needs two kickers, or two things that must happen in addition to the $10 million. One, that the project, it has to be 10 million, and it has to receive a tax abatement. And then in addition, it has to receive some additional municipal financing, such as an affordable housing trust fund, redevelopment bonds, or even rent from the municipality. If a municipality, if a private construction company rather built something and the municipality was renting it and also gave it a tax abatement and it was above $10 million, then that would have to have a project labor agreement. So that's the criteria that's set forth by state law. And this is the criteria that Hoboken uses, and so this is the one that I'm proposing that we use. And what really are, do you get out of this project labor agreement? Well, it essentially means you're using union labor. You get a guarantee of no strikes, lockouts, or other similar actions. You get binding resolution of any kind of labor disputes or jurisdiction. We get an agreement that the labor organization, when it sends workers to a job, it will send Maplewood residents first. And then labor organizations have apprentice programs that are sanctioned by the state. We would require 10% of apprenticeships for Maplewood residents and all of the apprenticeships for people who live in Essex County. And then there is a clause, it's also required that the township If it had to, it could make a determination because of the nature or size or complexity of the project that the labor agreement is not required. And some of the towns or some of the municipalities that have labor agreements, they have opted to on certain projects is to waive it because of some of the difficulty in what gets built and things like that. But essentially, this would be our guide rail for the future. We would, if we adopt this ordinance, which I think we should, this will allow us to be clear about the projects that we're doing. I might just say one thing. I did say that it guarantees labor, contractors that use labor, but it still is lowest bid. So in other words, we still get to choose from the lowest bidders. So there is still that competition, and we're not, stuck with any particular contractor. They would just have to prove that they're involved in these agreements with labor unions and the labor union apprenticeship program. The one other thing that we have in our draft ordinance that is included in the Hoboken one is that if it's an affordable housing project where 51% of the units are affordable, and that's defined by our state regulations, then that is not a project labor agreement. You can waive that also. And that really is because affordable housing is on such a small margin as it is, that the developers really try to make it work without the subsidies. It's really difficult just in and of itself. So that's where we are. What I would suggest is if we're favorable for this to move forward, that I would move a motion to instruct Mr. Desiderio to take this draft, put it into the Maplewood words and actions, take a look at it, make sure he's comfortable with it. And that we would also just share it, run it by the laborers just to make sure they know what we're doing. Again, I said, as I said, they gave us the examples of Montclair and Hoboken, and that's what we're using. But I think just as a respect, we want to just let them see it. And then hopefully we'll get it on the agenda for March 7th.
I'll second.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen, and thank you, Mr. DeLuca. This is a worker rights issue, and it's the right thing for Maplewood, and I'm glad that the conversations that yourself and myself have had with representatives of the laborers union who had reached out to us during the demonstrations, really, really grateful that they turned into something productive and gotten us to this important stage. The next item is yours as well.
And so this is a companion piece in talking with the laborers. They came up with a program that we had not known about, and it's called Direct Hire Program. And this allows municipalities to hire union members, laborers, as temporary workers at DPW. Now, we have the right as management to hire temporary workers for so many hours and so many days in a year. And, there are times when we could use folks after a storm, a big snowstorm, or of course, any kind of a major hurricane or tropical storm. Also, when we're doing leaf pickup, sometimes just getting extra hands out there makes a difference. Or if we have a project, these are folks who are trained to do things, work in concrete and, do that kind of work. So it might be very beneficial. And this is we would enter into a memorandum of understanding with the laborers, which would give the DPW the right, not required, but would give them the right that if we need laborers or need extra hands, that they would be able to call the union shop and get workers there. And what I would recommend, or I would move that we, if we're in favor of doing this, that I would move that we do this and authorize Mr. Schuster and Mr. Desiderio to finalize the language, and Mr. Schuster to sign the memo of understanding with the laborers union.
Second it.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Fritzen. Moving right along, the next item is mine in support of redevelopment or area need a rehabilitation study in Maplewood Village. What do I mean? Do I mean the whole village? Not the whole village, but rather a smaller scope. Where is this coming from? At our last seed committee meeting, we were joined by the private property owner of the building in which the vacant Maplewood Theater sits. And he disclosed that he's been working with a Maplewood resident who is a redeveloper in activating the site and redeveloping the entire building, at least the part of it that he owns, of course. They've been talking for months. And some of the things that they shared, obviously, we did not see a site plan because they're nowhere near that yet. All we heard is that they plan to maintain the facade of the existing building as is, including preserving the historic facade of the theater using historic preservation grants, keeping the theater space in some limited capacity as a performance venue with the potential for retail restaurant space, and redeveloping the rear of the building into a 2 or 3 story structure for housing. And parking in the back and sub-parking underneath for both building residents and visitors of Maplewood Village, potentially increasing parking spaces that are much needed in Maplewood Village. The rear parking lot is township property. So we would be an important stakeholder in this discussion, in this development of this plan. And any agreement that we would, as a township, engage with the parties would include the replacement of, if not the addition of, existing number of parking spaces there. So there's a potential to include this, to connect that lot to the parking lot behind the old BOA building, the Bank of America building, which is also inactive, vacant at the moment as part of this development. Of course, that would require separate buy-in by that property owner. And so in light of this movement by private property owners in our village, I think it's probably smart and wise for us as a governing body to develop a study and to start exercising whatever control we can over what happens there, how it is redeveloped. And I would encourage us to support such a study and include not just the building that the Maplewood Theater is in, but also including the Bank of America building, so that it would be that entire area would be included in the study. We haven't officially authorized our planner to conduct such a study. We haven't paid him to do so, but that's what I'm asking for tonight, support for that. Is there any discussion?
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
Well, may I add something, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So we did speak to Mr. Greigel, who has been our planner and has done a number of these studies. And we have an anticipation that you may approve this, secured from him a proposal. So if you're going to pass a motion, I would also request that you, if you want to move this forward on a fast track, you may not want to, that you would also authorize the expenditure of monies to retain Mr. Greigel. He proposes a fee of up to $17,500, inclusive of attendance at no more than 2 planning board meetings, with regard to do the study, just to make a determination as to whether or not the area in question would even qualify as an area in need of redevelopment. So my suggestion would be, if you're going to do a resolution, that you actually include that as well, so we can move it forward.
Wonderful. Mr. DeLuca, would your motion include that?
Yes.
I'll second it.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Kright,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, thank you. Reestablishment of the Civilian Emergency Response Team, otherwise known as CERT. Mr. DeLuca.
Thank you, Mayor. So just like Ms. Adams, this will be my last share because we're going into public. So CERT is basically, it's a national program, community emergency response team. You get these nifty little hats and vests and all this kind of stuff. You get trained. It's 32 hours of training. The county does it for us, and these are the kind of categories you are trained in under. So we spoke at the Public Safety Committee about reestablishing CERT. We used to have one many years ago. In fact, Joe Manning, our former administrator, was a member of CERT, and oftentimes we would see him staffing one of the barricades when we had events or an emergency. But that's what these folks do. When there's an emergency, they're trained to go in and help provide assistance to the first responders. And they can do everything from light search and rescue to medical, some medical care. But a lot of it is just logistical support, traffic duty, helping people, move around if there's an emergency at a station, getting people through that process. So we want to put this out there again, see if there's interest in the community. We kind of talked about it when we disbanded the auxiliary police, about taking a look at this again. And for a long time, because of COVID, the county was not offering CERT training, but now they've notified us that they would. And so we're ready to go. I've spoken to the sheriff, sergeant up there, and she's ready to work with us. The Chief Sally has designated a sergeant who will be responsible for it. And if we approve the reinstatement tonight, I'm meeting with him tomorrow at 4 to map out the plan to get this up and running. So I would move that we reestablish the CERT program.
Oh, second that.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes. And our final discussion item is in support of advocacy to change an existing state law. Mr. DeLuca.
Yeah, this really came about. One of our residents asked me to raise this with the Township Committee. We know the story of a resident in Maplewood who lost a house in a foreclosure, and it was written up in the New York Times. And we're one of, I think, a handful of states that you lose all equity in your house when there's a foreclosure. And I didn't know if anyone was looking at this, either at the league or, in the social justice world. So I wanted to raise it. I said I would. I think it's worth, I don't think there's anything right now that we can vote on or propose, but I think we ought to put our feelers out to see if there's anything out there. It just doesn't seem right that somebody would lose all equity in these situations. And I understand, there's a bit of a conflict because we are required to do tax sales. And we do get premiums because people take the gamble that they might get the house. But still, it does seem to be unfair that you lose everything. And oftentimes people have difficulties, and when they're in the process of a foreclosure, they may not be, on top of things as much as they were before. And it just is it's a sad situation. So I know Mr. Desiderio shared some information with us. Maybe he could, help us think through this and see if there's a way, maybe what other states do. And we can take a look at that.
Yes.
Yes, so I can relay that the league has this on their radar. It hasn't been at the last League of Municipalities. It wasn't one of the priority items that they were pushing, but it is on their radar. And we are also aware of litigation already moving through the courts So I think this law's days are slowly passing. We are among just a dozen of states that still have this law. And you're absolutely right. We should do whatever we can to advocate for its end. So
yeah,
What-
really, I think we should just keep it on as a, not discuss it every time, but at least think about, keep educating ourselves about it. And when it's ripe, take whatever action would be appropriate.
certainly. And we can also bring it up with our legislative partners, our representatives as well. Okay, we do have two other items. As I turned the page, I recognize that we have two other items. Fields Committee, these are both Deputy Mayor Engel's discussion items. Let's start with Fields, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. As we discussed at our last Township Committee meeting, we talked about forming a new Fields Committee to take a look at our fields in Maplewood and figure out a long-term plan to make them usable for all of our stakeholders. And we talked about in our Health and Community Services Committee meeting what that committee would look like. We don't want it as large as the last task force that was not as successful. So we talked about keeping it smaller and also ensuring that all of the stakeholders for our field have representatives on the committee. So I sent around to my colleagues a proposed list of what organizations they will be, and I'll just read them quickly here. A member, and there'll be one representative from each of these organizations. Township Committee, our Director of Community Services, Recreation Team Scheduler, DPW Parks and Fields, Recreation Advisory Committee, Environmental Advisory Committee, Green Team, Hilton Neighborhood Association, Borden Park Neighborhood Association, Friends of Maple Crest Park, Memorial Park Conservancy, Cougar Soccer, MSO Softball, including Villagers, MSO Baseball, Columbia High School Athletic Director, Adult Ultimate Frisbee, CHS Ultimate Frisbee, CHS Field Hockey, and then 2 at-large members who can be residents. So I wanted to bring it back up here for a discussion item so we can authorize Mr. Desiderio to either draft a resolution or an ordinance, I'm not sure, process, so that we can move forward with this Fields Committee. Any questions from my colleagues?
Mr. Desiderio, this would be an ordinance, right, to create this committee?
The answer is if you want to make it permanent. If you want to start it and you want to just see how it goes, you do it as a resolution, could run it through the end of the year. If it's something you think should go on and be effectively indefinite, then an ordinance. So I leave that up to your good judgment.
I would prefer that because it's probably going to be changed.
Yeah.
Probably going to tinker with it. And once you make it an ordinance, it becomes part of our whole process. You got to do 2 meetings and all that. With a resolution, even if we find something 6 months we want to change, we can just do it in 1 meeting.
And I believe we talked in our committee meeting as well about having the stakeholders who are part of that committee to kind of refine what the future, if we were to move forward and pass this year, what it would actually look like and tweak it as needed.
Okay, so if you would, Ms. Engel, if you'd send me that, I did not get that. So if you'd send that to me, I'll do a confirming resolution if there is in fact a consensus to do that here.
Yeah, I will send it to you.
Do you need us to do a roll call?
So Ms. Engel, you're making a motion to form this committee on an ad hoc basis for right now?
Correct, that is my motion.
I'll second it.
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Dacus.
Yes, thank you. And pool guest pass fees.
Yes, this also came up in our Health and Community Services meeting to discuss here, as the Pool Advisory Committee had a very tight vote about whether we keep our guest pass prices flat from last year, which were $25 for 1 adult and $15 for 1 kid or 1 child. And there was the second proposal that was up for vote was to lower them a little bit to $20 per adult and $10 per child. And the vote was a 6-5 vote with 1 person who abstained. So it was very tight, and we've been talking about the pool in general. So I just wanted to bring it up here for discussion amongst my colleagues to see how you all feel about the price of guest passes and which proposal you feel most comfortable with. And then the ordinance will come at a future meeting to vote on all the fees for the pool.
Ms. Engel, I'm sorry, because I got confused. The vote favored which?
The vote favored to keep it flat at $25 for an adult and $15 for a child versus lowering it. And those rates, if you all remember, were raised last year in 2022 from prior years.
Deputy Mayor Engel, what is your proposal to the committee for our consideration?
Well, I'm first curious to hear if anybody has thoughts or opinions about the guest pass pool prices.
Can I ask you a question? Was the year before, was it the $20 and $10?
I believe so.
Okay. I mean, my feeling is we ought to lower it. I think it's, if you got 2 adults, 2 kids, that's all of a sudden it's like $80. And it's just a lot of money. And I think the idea of a guest pass is, you have guests and I don't think anybody's abusing the system, but if you have guests, I just don't think I don't think we should make it as high as it's being proposed. So I would be in favor of the 20 and 10.
I would too.
Yeah. Likewise, I think, if we could hear back from the pool committee, if you haven't already got the numbers, what were the differences in between people taking advantage of the guest pass program, and did that any of those folks translate into members? Because if it's too expensive, I could see folks making the decision not to join and just use a guest pass. But if those folks became members, ultimately, that could be a gateway. That could be an entry to having members, and a lower price would be a better appeal, I think.
They did not have any real data about that, but they did say it seems like from word of mouth that less people were buying guest passes because the prices were too high. So
Okay,
I guess
thank
my
you.
proposal, I don't know if we need to vote on this, but my proposal would be to go back to our director of recreation or community services and let her know that we prefer the lower guest pass rates to go back to $20 for an adult and $10 for a child when she works with Mr. Desiderio to draft the ordinance for our pool fees.
Well, I think we should have a motion that instructs her to do that.
So that's my motion, to instruct. the Director of
Second.
Community Services.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes, thank you. This brings us to our consent agenda. We're going to take a few items one by one here. I move the closed session minutes from our February 7th meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes. Next, I move the minutes from our open session on November 14th, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Abstain.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes. I also move items 12C through 12J of the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca?
Yes.
Ms. Engel?
Yes.
Mayor Daffis?
Yes, thank you. All right, this brings us to our second and last public comment period for any subject matter. Mr. Waltz, would you kindly coordinate?
Good evening again, Mayor and Township Committee. We will now begin the second public comment portion of our meeting on any subject matter. If any meeting attendee would like to address the Township Committee, please use the raise your hand function. We will convert you over to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes to speak. Mayor, first we have Mark Solomon. Convert you to a panelist and allow you 3 minutes.
Greetings. Now you can,
Welcome, Mr. Solomon.
thank you. It's good to see all of you. So my name is Mark Solomon. I live at 67 Maplewood Avenue with my husband, my 3-year-old son, and our 1-year-old daughter. And incidentally, Mr. DeLuca, live across the street from the foreclosed upon home that you were referring to. And that was tragic. And actually the resident there was the one person who brought us cookies when we moved in. So I certainly admire your stance on taking on that home equity issue. I wanted to talk about a situation that I know all of you know about. It's the intersection that we live right by, 2 houses down from at Maplewood and Jefferson. My family and I live in dread of serious accidents at that intersection, which happen honestly about 2 times a week. We hear brakes squealing. We often hear a big smash. And then there was this past last Wednesday when I was sitting outside. It was a nice-ish day, and you could see this right on our corner. I posted online about it on the Soma Lounge, and there were literally 263 comments, 65 people signed a petition. We really live in sort of dread of hearing these crashes, and terrified that it's going to be a pedestrian. I worry that as our kids grow up and they're going to be heading to the village and crossing that intersection pretty consistently, that a car could be hit and go into the sidewalk. I know this has been going on for a long, long time. I Googled and saw that, someone in 2013 said there was yet another
30 seconds.
Okay. Yeah. There was another accident at this corner. 2 people were taken away by ambulance. And then beneath that, someone posted, I advocated for months in 2007 and gave up finally. So my hope, Mayor Daffis and members of the council, is that we can really take this one seriously. I'm going to join the meeting of the committee that Public Works and Engineering folks in a couple weeks. And
10 seconds.
I know we can do better. So appreciate your attention to this matter, and thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you. We appreciate Mr. Solomon's advocacy and presence this evening. And
Mayor, can I just confirm that we are going to have our traffic engineer at that meeting presenting the plan that he has put together to make it more aware. And there's other steps we might be able to talk about. We have taken it seriously. We've tried to figure it out, and we'll continue to do so.
yeah, I think the discussion, Mr. Solomon, at the Engineering, Public Works and Planning Committee, is where it's at, right? Because you'll get to interact with our professionals and our engineers and our consultants. You'll get to learn about what we have learned and what we've looked at, what we've considered, and have a better, discussion with all those professionals about what can be done, what hasn't been considered, and maybe reconsidering certain things. I mean, I certainly shared with you and others in that social media thread, which is now close to 350 comments, information about what we've done previously. I encouraged you and others to file an OPRA to receive that information officially and comprehensively. And we welcome you and others to join us in those meetings to further explore this together. And thank you again.
Thank you.
Mr. Waltz, do we have another member of the public wishing to comment?
I see no hands, Mayor.
Okay, I do see members of the public, but no hands up. All right, then we will close the public comment period, and I move that we adjourn and meet again in person for the first time since March 2020, March 7th at 7:30 p.m. at the municipal building.
We have ABC next, right?
Yeah, we're gonna
Right.
Okay,
we got to adjourn and then move to open.
yeah. I just
I'm
wanted,
gonna take a vote on the adjournment, Mayor. Ms. Adams?
Yes.
Ms. Cripe?
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes, I move that we reconvene as the local ABC.
Second. If we need it.
To reconvene as local ABC. Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Cripe,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Daffis.
Yes.
First, let me just state, this afternoon, you were all emailed, the application, the notice of hearing, and also a potential, resolution. So, Mr. Desiderio, are you, want me to conduct this meeting? You're on mute.
So why don't you just lay out the background and then I'll swear in the witness if we can, okay?
Okay. So good evening, members of the Maplewood Local ABC. And first I want to take a roll call. Ms. Adams,
Here.
Ms. Cripe,
Here.
Mr. DeLuca. Ms.
Oh, we did this already. Sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Engel,
Here.
Here.
Mayor Daffis. Okay, this meeting tonight is consideration of a person-to-person and place-to-place transfer, plenary retail consumption liquor license number 0711-33-new to Maplewood Spirits LLC, 1315 Newark Way in Maplewood, New Jersey. Mr. Desiderio, you want to do the witnesses?
Sure. Mr. Malloy, good evening. Want to put your appearance on the record, please?
Certainly. Michael Malloy. I am representing Maplewood Spirits LLC, the applicant, and its principal, Fred Chandler.
May I swear Mr. Chandler in?
Certainly.
Mr. Chandler, would you raise your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy, just go through the background a little bit, where this license is going to be, what the intent is, the process that you've been through to get to this point, if you would, please.
Sure. Well, background, if we go all the way back, Mr. Chandler purchased the property at 1315 Newark Way, which had up until recently housed an auto body shop and had the idea to convert it into a restaurant. And so that transaction closed in recent months, and he has been hard at renovating the structure and making it into a full service restaurant, adding parking and space in the rear of the premises. Going to be really a nice venture. Not finished yet, but getting there. And I think he'll tell you, but I think he expects the restaurant to open maybe May, June, July of this year. And so we went through planning board approval, received it. And luckily, the new license became available. Bid on that. I think his winning bid was $525,000, tendered the 10% deposit. And we've, as Ms. Fritzen can tell you, published the required number of times in the required newspapers. And we're here today to see if we can close the deal, so to speak.
Okay, that's good. And I would just remind the Township Committee that Mr. Chandler also did purchase and negotiate from the township an easement for some additional parking in the rear of the property, which was done some time ago.
Yeah.
And Mr. Malloy, you have closed on the property. Mr. Chandler has closed on the property.
Fred, you can speak.
Mr. Chandler, have you closed on the property?
Yes.
Okay. And as Mr. Malloy said, you're in the process of renovating the facility, I take it?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And at the end of the day, what do you anticipate a number of seats and the like?
60 to start.
Okay, will it be a bar?
So there will not be a walk-up bar. No, the intent of the license is to celebrate the food that we're serving, but no, it won't be a destination as a bar.
Okay. Mrs. Fritzen, we have received the license and it's been complete. Is that correct?
Okay, we have not received the license.
I'm sorry, I apologize. We've received the application and it's complete.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And it has been through all of the appropriate committees, including the police department for fingerprinting, and everything has come back without any issues. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and we have published on what days, Ms. Fritzen?
The publishing was, I believe it was the last Thursday in December and the first Thursday in January.
Okay, and over that course of time, have we received any objections to the transfer of this license?
We have not. And again, I have the dates in front of me. So for the record, published on December 29th and January 5th.
And Mr. Chandler, the source of the funds for this license are from your own savings or from your own monies. Is that correct? As opposed to from some third party?
Yes.
Okay. Members of the committee, are there any questions for Mr. Chandler with regard to this transfer? I am seeing nobody saying that.
None.
Okay, Mr. Walls, is there anyone in the audience who has any comments with regard to this transfer?
See no one, Mr. Desiderio.
Thank you. If I may, would you entertain a resolution? Members of the ABC, Mayor?
Yes.
Yes.
If I may, resolution 7323. Be it resolved that the application having been made to the local ABC of the Township of Maplewood for a new license, the plenary retail consumption license number 07733-NEW, and that number will be given a final number by the state. Ms. Fritzen's been advised, but since it's a new license number, that's why they have that in there. The Township Clerk of the Township is hereby authorized and directed as an agent of the local ABC, the Maplewood Township Committee, to transfer the new plenary retail license under that phone number to Maplewood Spirits LLC at 1315 Newark Way, Maplewood, New Jersey. Be it further resolved that the applicant has agreed that the license shall be used at that address, 1315 Newark Way, Maplewood, New Jersey. The transfer is effective as of February 21st, 2023, upon payment of any amounts that are still due. Mr. Chandler, if you'd listen to the following, these are prohibited. Licensee will voluntarily post signs at the cash registers, which will advise customers that consumption of alcoholic beverages on the streets of Maplewood is forbidden by the township ordinance. The township clerk will provide the signs and notices to be posted. The licensee will not offer straws or extra bags to customers. Licensee will not offer free cups to customers. Most of these apply mostly to sales licenses, but nonetheless, licensee will not ice down 50 milliliter, 100 milliliter, or 200 milliliter bottles of liquor or in individual cans of beer. Licensee agrees to maintain the area in and about the location and keep it free from debris. No liquor will be sold in a single quart size container. No beer may be sold in a single quart size container. Maplewood will continue to enforce the ordinances involved and work with the licensee regarding complaints that they may have. Licensee pledges to cooperate with Maplewood and agrees to institute the voluntary measures described above. Assuming you agree to those, Mr. Chandler?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, the license shall be subject to the rules and regulations here and above or hereinafter adopted by the governing body, as well as by all other lawful authority, as well as all the statutes of the state and federal government, such cases made and provided. If I could get a motion to pass the resolution.
I'll move.
Second.
Seconded.
Ms. Fritzen?
Ms. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
I'm going to abstain just because Mr. Chandler recently donated to my campaign. Thank you.
and Mayor Davis.
Yes.
Congratulations, Mr. Chandler.
Thanks, everyone. I really
And a
appreciate it.
long winding road.
Yes.
Has
Yes. Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks to all.
Look,
I move we adjourn.
Seconded.
On adjournment, Ms. Adams,
yes.
Ms. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. DeLuca,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Mayor Davis.
Yes, good night and see you in person on March 7th, everyone.
Woohoo!
They will, Mr. Malloy.
You too.
Congratulations, Fred. Looking forward to checking you join out.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.